the euro looks like it's getting ready to kind of potentially roll.
Euro's been strong, though, and now it's going to roll?
Yeah, I think it's been strong thinking that you're going to have peace.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever. The Financial Survival Network.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Martin Armstrong is with us now. Martin, it's great to have you back on the show. Make sure you go over to Armstrong Economics, sign up for his daily newsletter. Marty, it's like we're hit another turning point here. What is the model saying about Ukraine now with all the peace efforts that are supposedly taking place now? Are they legitimate, or is it just more stagecraft, statecraft for the masses to make people think they are trying to do something even when they're not?
No, I think you got to split it in half. I mean, Trump really is trying to do something. It's Europe that's trying to stop him from doing anything. I've been warning them. I said, be very careful. Europe is in dire straits, and they will stab Trump in the back every chance they get. And just look at how they've reviewed this and saw it as very serious. The neocons, I was in the middle of them back, when Bush Jr. was around. And so I got to see really how they function, what they think about. And the number one rule they have is never talk to your opponent or your adversary. When Ronald Reagan wanted to go meet with Gorbachev in 91 when the whole, USSR collapsed, they couldn't call him a communist anymore. So they said he was, you could just never trust a Russian. And he went anyhow. He refused to listen to them. But if you look at, that's their MO. They always tell, do not talk to Putin. Why? Because that might lead to a peace deal. And I've spoken to, several governments there, and I said, has anybody picked up the phone to try to even call Putin? Give me a name, please. Nobody could. So the theatrics here is that you had all of them, including NATO, hop on a plane and come to Washington to support Zelensky.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They don't want peace. They all met clandestinely with Zelensky before his meeting in the Ukrainian embassy. Okay. They don't want peace. This is what, I've been told from, all along here. And in all honesty, as you know, we had, 2 employees in Ukraine, one in Donetsk and then one in Kiev. And even when at the very beginning and Putin had his tanks up against, down the road outside of Kiev, I said, I was concerned. I said, gee, are you okay? What's going on? And they said, they're doing nothing. It's just a show. So he could have taken Kiev right then and there if he wanted. He didn't. All right. It was more of a show of force to say, see, look, and they pulled back. What goes on here is, we started this whole nonsense. You had John McCain on the stage at my dad, we're with you. This is about, it's all only about you, peace, all this nonsense, right? No, they had peace. They overthrew the government. They installed an interim government, which instantly then was told to start to attack the Donbass. Um, you had Victoria Nuland there handing out sandwiches in Maidan. Oliver Stone did a thing, Ukraine on Fire, and showed that Ukrainians wanted the U.S. to intervene. And Victoria Nuland said, we can't do that. You know, you need at least 100 people, killed, then maybe we can look at it. Ukrainians were bringing over one at a time for their own snipers to kill 100 people. And they killed 100 to say, okay, well, now will you come in? I mean, what I was told from direct sources that they did not believe Zelensky won. They believed that the election was all rigged. And that's why when he took office, I put out a report. I said, look, this is the guy I've been told that was handpicked, no less, to start World War III. And he ran for election. The death toll was 130,000 at the time. And he ran for election. You can look it up. It was in CNN. His whole platform was peace. And he got over 1 million dead since. And he's refused just about everything. This little stint here, he said, our Constitution forbids us to give them any territory whatsoever. So in other words, Russia, you have to get completely out. You have to surrender. That's it. I don't see a solution long term here. I mean, Zelensky's got to go. And I have put this flat out right to Washington. I said, you're not going to get any peace as long as this guy is there. Every source I had said he was handpicked to create war. The Ukrainian people, I mean, his polls are down like 25%. The vast majority, they want peace. Okay.
Of course. Everyone wants peace.
Elections. All right. Over 8 million have fled. The 2 employees we had, they're in Berlin now, and vowed not to go back. Where has this war been for the Ukrainian people? And I can tell you, the same thing was going on in Romania. The first election, it was rigged by Russia, so they wouldn't allow the guy to take office. Why? Because in Romania, that is where they're building, it was initially a secret base, the largest NATO base in all of Europe in Romania, to attack Russia. And that's what he was against. So they had to get rid of him. Then they just staged a second election. And I know people that were there. They said even Macron went to make sure the EU won. And the Romanian people, like the Ukrainian people, they know they're just pawns in this. They do not want to go to war with Russia. What do you get out of this? The Donbass is primarily all Russian. 15% of Crimea are still Tatars from the old Mongol invasion of 1240. Zelensky has outlawed their language, outlawed their religion. Even the Pope came out against them and said you cannot, invalidate, Orthodox Christianity.
Can Trump get us out of this mess?
I believe what Trump has done, and like I said, I've been screaming in Washington as loud as I can. I think they're starting to listen. And, I've warned them that, look, Europe is going to stab you in the back. They need this war. They're desperate. The economy's collapsing. The EU will crumble. I mean, I do interviews from Netherlands to Palermo. And everybody, 3 years ago, it was, you really think the EU will break up? And now I get, when? We've had enough. You know, I do them in Croatia, Serbia. I mean, everybody says the same thing. Largely because, you know, when you have a centralized government, they get drunk on power. This was supposed to be an economic trade union. No, you will take migrants in. In Romania, they just told them you will accept 100,000 Africans and Middle Eastern. You know, that is their decree. Why? I can also tell you the reason why is that they think, which is going to backfire on them, they think bringing in all these migrants and then they can draft them and that will be their army to go after Russia. The problem they have is that they're not going to risk their life for them. You know, this is the same stupid mistake that the Roman Emperor Valens made. He let the Goths in because Attila the Hun was coming. Trained them, very nice, you know, to build up his army against Attila. They always hated Romans. They turned around, waged war in Rome, killed the emperor, beheaded him in battle. You know, is Europe doing the same stupid thing?
Pretty much.
And you're bringing in these people who have no loyalty to you. They're not there to assimilate. You know, you go to Sweden, you know, police won't even go into areas. They've hung up signs, Shira law here. It's not that when everybody came to America, you know, it was to make a better life and to be free, etc. Once everybody began speaking the same language, everybody intermarried. All right. So yes, the American, well, I'm half German, half Irish, whatever, or Italian or whatever. You don't see that in Europe so much.
Yeah.
You know, because the language keeps people apart.
What do they say about the U.S. and England? We're two people divided by a common language, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's look, Europe is, I don't know, for whatever cultural reason, the ethnic differences there may be harbored by the language, but they don't disappear. You know, the Chancellor of Germany in 1888 said that there was going to be a major war in Europe and it's going to come from the Balkans. Anybody that's dealt with them is the ethnic hatred just goes back centuries. I mean, as I said, we gave, you know, Greece a handful of jets, and what did make the front page news? Oh, now we can do a sneak attack on Turkey. You know,
Brilliant.
2 NATO countries.
Yeah.
You go to England, you know, and they still call Catholics papes, and that's from the Civil War 1650. You know. You know, I've been to Bavaria, and they say, oh, tomorrow's a holiday. I said, what's the holiday? We won the war. I said, which one are we talking about? You know? And it's like, oh, we defeated Prussia. You know, that was the, you know, Protestant versus Catholic. You know, I mean, this stuff goes on and on and on. And the solution to Ukraine is very simple. You know, they had the Minsk agreement. Putin signed it, and then you had Merkel basically outright said, well, we never intended to honor it. All right. They've wanted this war from the beginning. And
Crazy.
They've always tried to conquer Russia because it's the richest country in the world from a natural resource perspective. Sweden tried, Spain tried, Italy, Germany tried. It's like somebody's got, a pile of $1,000 cash sitting on the table, and gee, it doesn't look nice, and they just want to get their hands on it. I don't know what it, but it's.
Doesn't it make sense to work with them because Russia doesn't have the talent pool or the human capital to exploit all those resources if they kind of join together and stop wasting all their money on military hardware and actually got down and started realizing the value of Russia's resources, everyone would be better off, wouldn't they?
Yeah, look, I have actually had discussions with high-level people in France. All right. They call Macron the Petit Napoleon. And
that's redundant.
The view is this. And I think it's this goes back to even to the American Revolution, that they feel that if they can conquer Russia and get the assets for themselves, that Europe will rise from oblivion, and 75 trillion is twice the size of U.S. national debt. And they will become the Roman Empire again and rule the world.
Delusional.
I mean, it's delusional. It's absolutely delusional. But I said, you've got to be kidding me. People are actually discussing this? Yes. I mean, it was Macron who was the first one that wanted to send troops into Ukraine, knowing that would be World War III. And so this meeting, every country came with NATO. That was basically choreographing something very important. We don't want peace. We're here, and they have said, we're standing behind Ukraine. We don't give a shit about the United States. That's really what that message was.
That's insane. So the model, nothing's changed on it. It's still saying what it said before.
Yeah, look, volatility will start going up starting in September. Next year doesn't look good. And look, the problem here, and I've warned Washington, and at first I thought maybe they would think I was a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I said, look, we got to get the hell out of NATO. They're going to do a false flag and try and invoke Article 5 and drag us in. And the response I got back was, we know, you're right. I go, wow, okay. We're starting to make progress here. So what Trump has done is saying, all right, fine. We will give you Article 5 like security without taking in absorbing Ukraine into NATO. What's the difference? The difference is if they join NATO, they can park nukes there. So this is kind of cutting the baby in half. That's why Putin basically said okay to that. He's not going to have nukes on his border.
No. Solomonic decision.
Yeah, it's a reasonable decision. All right. I mean, I've argued, look, the solution's very clear. Just honor the Minsk agreement, let the Donbass, vote and separate. Europe, oh, no, we're giving up any territory. All right, Czechoslovakia is split on ethnic lines. Czech Republic, Slovakia. We had Yugoslavia break up. All right, you got Montenegro, you got Serbia, you got Croatia, all along ethnic lines.
Of course.
All right,
Albania. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know Serbs, and they still hate Armenians. It's just the way it is.
And the same with Cyprus. You got the Greek half of the island and the Turkish half.
You're not going to solve these things. Iran versus Israel. Come on, it's a religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? You can't negotiate my God against your God. I mean, that's not negotiable.
Not subject to negotiation for sure. So
I mean, land is one thing, I'll give you this, you give me that, but when you're talking about ethnic differences and religion, you're not getting anywhere. And you have to respect there are differences in motivations for war.
Okay. So hey, some of what you said before, we're going to have to put into part 2 because our digital overlords will censor.